Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Dom Dumas, and I'm in Bangkok. Point Break, 1991 versus 2015, episode 30. Now, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 1991 Point Break, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the 2015 Point Break, and then I'll give you a little bit of my personal opinion, comparing the two movies, and which one I felt was better or worse or why, and things like that. So, first, obviously, we're going to start with 1991. 1991, the main cast would have been Patrick Swayze as Bodhi, Keanu Reeves as Johnny Utah, Gary Busey as Angelo Pappas, and Lori Petty as Tyler. Now, Bodhi is a surfer. Johnny Utah is an undercover FBI agent who used to be a football star, and then he hurt his knee at university. Angelo Pappas is an undercover FBI agent, and Tyler is a surfer, a female surfer. Now, the IMDb rating for the 1991 Point Break is a 7.2 stars. The length of the movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes. To be honest, I've watched the movie so many times and I never realized it was that long. It doesn't feel like it. The rating from 1991 was rated R for violence, language, and brief nudity. And the nudity is very, very brief. I'm surprised that it's even, well, I'm not surprised. It has to be listed, but yeah. And the brief plot for the 1991 is Johnny Utah, a former university football star with a knee injury, becomes an FBI agent. He is partnered with Angelo Pappas. Johnny Utah goes undercover and learns how to surf to try and find a gang of bank robbers that have been robbing banks in the local area. Now, sounds interesting? Actually, it's really interesting. Now, for the 2015 Point Break, the main cast is Edgar Ramirez, who plays Bodhi, Luke Bracey, who plays Utah, Ray Winstone, who plays Pappas, and Teresa Palmer, who plays Samsara. Now, Bodhi is a surfer. Well, actually, in this movie, Bodhi isn't a surfer. Bodhi surfs, but he's an extreme sports more than an enthusiast, so to say. He loves big wave surfing. He loves free falling, he loves diving in the sea, kayaking down some of the most treacherous rivers, free climbing, and things like that. Now, Utah he's another extreme sports enthusiast. He used to be a motocross guy, but he's also a surfer. But he lost a friend of his because of something that he did, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. Ray Winstone, Pappas is an undercover FBI agent, and Samsara is a female extreme sport enthusiast. Now, the IMDb rating for this movie, catch this, 5.3. Holy cow. That's like almost 2 full points below the 1991 version. Now, the time for this movie is 1 hour and 54 minutes. I'll be honest with you, you really felt it in this movie compared to the original Point Break from 1991. Now, it's rated PG-13 for violence, thematic material involving perilous activities. What does that mean? Basically, what that means is it has extreme sports that could kill you. Some sexuality. Yeah, there's some sexuality in there. And drug material. Yeah, you see a guy smoking a joint. Okay, now the brief plot for the 2015 one is an extreme sports athlete goes to university to become an FBI agent after a tragic accident that results in the death of his friend. That would be Utah. They were riding a mountain ridge on their motocross bikes, and they had to make this jump and land on this little small pillar of rock, and his friend didn't quite make the stop in time and ended up falling off. Now, after he becomes an FBI agent, he goes undercover to infiltrate an extraordinary team of extreme sports athletes he suspects of masterminding a string of unprecedented, sophisticated corporate heists. Yeah, I mean they do. They rob a diamond mine, they rob a gold mine, they rob this business center. They steal millions upon millions of dollars, but they didn't keep any of it for themselves. They kind of are like I guess you could say they were Robin Hoods of the day. Now, the similarities between the two movies. Both main good guy characters are named Utah. Both main good guys are FBI agents. Both main good guys go undercover to stop crime. Both main good guys have partners named Pappas. Both main bad guys are named Bodie. Both main bad guys mastermind the crimes. And both movies involve extreme sports of their time. Now, in 1991, surfing was kind of an extreme sport. It had been around for a long time, but they were using shorter boards and stuff like that. And they also did some skydiving in the movie. Now, this was before, not before big wave surfing became popular, but this is what the general public considered like an extreme sport, is to go surfboarding, to go surfing or to go skydiving. Now, my feelings about the movie. In 1991, for the 1991 version, in my opinion, the 1991 movie had a very solid storyline. You have Johnny Utah. You get to see him develop as an FBI agent. He first comes to the force. Nobody really wants him. I mean, he's the new guy. He's a green. He's a noob. So it's like nobody wants to be a partner with him. So they kind of partner him with the crazy guy on the squad, which happens to be Pappas. Now, Pappas is a bit nuts. Sorry, I got a little bit of a stuffed up nose. Sorry about that. I hope that wasn't too disgusting for you. Now, Pappas there's been this string of bank robberies that have been going on for quite a few years, but they only happen during specific times. And nobody really knows, and they always wear like masks. As a matter of fact, they wear the masks of former presidents. But nobody is really sure who it is. Now, Pappas has an idea, but everybody thinks he's crazy, okay? Because he analyzed some of the evidence taken from the scene. And one of the things that they found out was that there was sand, and in the sand there was also sex wax, which is a surfboard wax. I know it sounds kind of weird, sex wax, but yeah, it's and so he has an idea he has an opinion that it could very possibly be surfers who are doing these robberies, these bank robberies. Now, everybody thinks he's crazy. There's like, no way, surfers are too laid back, too much of stoners to even consider such a thing. But anyway, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. But Pappas says about the string of robberies going undercover. He tells Utah. I've just lost myself there for a second. He tells Johnny Utah that his ideas on what who the bank robbery criminals are, and who not the mastermind is. He doesn't actually name people, but he has an idea of where what community they come from. And so, to be honest, Utah kind of believes him. I mean, it makes sense. It does. The way he explains it makes a lot of sense in the movie. So he says, but, you need to learn how to surf. This is what Pappas tells Johnny Utah. And Johnny Utah is like, I don't know how to surf. I'm a football player, basically. And he's like, learn. Can't be that hard. I'm too old. You know, you're young. So Keanu Reeves, the ex-football college university star, decides he's going to learn how to surf. So he goes and buys a really nasty-looking surfboard. It's really loud. And he goes out and tries to learn to surf, or he tries to surf, ends up getting into trouble, almost gets himself killed, almost gets himself beat up. Actually, almost loses. He gets his board broke, or his board dinged, and then his ankle strap is cut and stuff like that. And he ends up meeting this girl, whose name is Tyler, and she tries to teach him how to surf, and actually she does a really good job. But before he even gets in the water, she has him going through all the basics on shore, which is kind of, looking back on it now, it makes perfect sense. But at the time, I was like, well, that's kind of stupid. But actually, it makes a lot of sense why you would learn how to do things like that on shore versus trying to do it out at the sea. Because first, you've got a stable platform to try and do how to go from paddling to standing, and you got to do it quick, snap and jump really quick, but you got to do it without losing your balance. So, and then once he does that, then they can go out to sea, and they can go out in the ocean and try and learn to surf, and he ends up learning to surf, which is kind of cool. Now, through his training of learning how to surf from Tyler, he ends up meeting this guy named Bodhi. Bodhi is kind of like this spiritual person. Which is kind of, Bodhi is short for Bodhisattva, which is kind of a person who's reached spiritual enlightenment. And you really kind of get that when you watch this character. He's kind of reached that point of enlightenment, or a form of enlightenment. And it's really kind of cool. And the way he talks about surfing, and the way he explains how you got to be one with the waves, and you got to be one with the sea, and things like that. It's really kind of cool. I mean, all of it makes a lot of sense. At least it made sense to me then, and it makes sense to me now when I watch the movie again. But you know, you have to feel the waves. You got to understand how the motion of the ocean is going. Motion of the ocean. Wow, that sounds really weird. But you got to feel it, and it becomes very clear. Utah kind of sees Bodhi as this leader, but not quite as a father figure, or this, like, it's hard to explain. He's more of like a brother, but like a big brother, an older brother, where you want to follow your brother, you want to be like your brother. At least some people do. And you know, through the movie, you get to see this relationship. They've done a really good job of showing how this relationship between Utah and Bodhi start to grow, which is really kind of cool. And you get an understanding why Utah respects him so much and why he loves him. But it also starts to become clear that Bodhi is the mastermind behind these robberies. And he ends up inviting or forcing Utah to go on a bank robbery with him. But he doesn't have a mask. So now he's kind of... he doesn't have a mask for Utah. So, of course, Utah is going to be seen in all the movie screen... Or not the movie screens. In all the video cameras, whereas everybody else is going to have masks of all the old presidents. Which is really kind of cool. Not kind of cool. It's kind of shitty for Utah, but that's his role. And, you know, and so now they escape. At the same time, Utah is trying to catch Bodhi to prevent him from taking off with all this money. And there's a bit of a car chase, and then there's a running race, and you're really drawn into this movie, and the way they've put it all together. It's really solidly acted. The story, I felt, was really put together, and you kind of see how Utah really struggles with his relationship with Bodhi. I mean, he wants to be an FBI agent, but at the same time, he's kind of met this guy that is kind of enlightening him, kind of opening him up to different things. but this person who's enlightening him and opening him up to these other aspects of life is a bad guy, and he kind of has to stop him. So, but the whole story, in my opinion, meshed really well. The sequences, the action sequences they actually had a reason why they were being used. They were very logical, and it's overall, I thought the movie was great. Now, the 2015 version of the movie, and I just watched this the other day, and it's really, I had so many expectations for this movie. You had a character named Utah. You had a character named Bodhi. Now, I knew they couldn't redo the same movie. They kind of had to modernize the story, I guess you could say. And they did. They honestly did try to modernize the story. But I felt watching this movie, I mean, the concept and the idea behind it, the way they modernized this story, the concept behind it is great. The problem for me is the story wasn't properly conceived. They didn't flesh out the whole story like they did with the 1991. The acting, the person Rodriguez who plays Bodhi, he did a phenomenal job. But my problem is when it came to Luke Bracey. I mean, I haven't seen Luke Bracey in a lot, but he kind of, in this movie, he really kind of lets it down, unfortunately. You know, and he didn't make the character of Utah very believable, whereas Rodriguez, although he didn't want to mimic the Bodhi from 1991, he did a great job of kind of giving him a new life, a new spirituality, another form of enlightenment, also while being an extreme athlete. And the way he played the character, he was very, very believable. Whereas the character of Utah, Bracey didn't do a very good job of making him a very believable character, in my opinion. The story just wasn't there. The acting wasn't there. And overall, I felt the movie was a huge disappointment. Basically, what I felt this movie was, it was absolutely a tool, in my opinion. And you know what? If you disagree with my opinion, please tell me. I'd love to hear it. You know, I'm open for all discussions on all my topics. But anyway, you know, I felt that this movie absolutely was simply a tool to help promote extreme sports. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, you look at Point Break from 1991, it absolutely promoted surfing. It absolutely promoted skydiving. Do you know what I mean? But it just, the storyline was actually there for the 1990. It was fully fleshed out. You know, and there was a good, solid storyline. Whereas for this one, the concept and the idea behind the storyline are good. The storyline itself wasn't very good. Bracey is not a convincing Utah. Now, I'm not trying to compare him to what Keanu Reeves was or is, especially at that point in time. Keanu Reeves wasn't this phenomenal actor quite at that point in time. I mean, he hadn't done The Matrix yet and stuff, but it was just for the 2015 movie. It just fell short in so many aspects. I was really, really excited to see it, and I was so disappointed in almost every aspect of the movie. I can totally see why this movie received a 5.3. I can absolutely see it. I mean, the storyline, not very solid. The concept is great. The idea is great, but the storyline's not very solid. The acting wasn't very good. I mean, and they did get some extreme sports athletes or extreme athletes to participate in the movie, which is great. But the main characters, Utah, for example, he couldn't bring that character to life the way Keanu Reeves brought the character to life. And that, again, that's just my opinion. But so for me, the 1991 Point Break absolutely blows away the 2015 Point Break. Now, if you disagree with me, I would love to hear your opinions on it. Please, message me on Facebook, message me on my website, send a message to me on Twitter, send a message to me on Instagram, email me, whatever. Tell me your opinions. I'd love to hear it. But I hope my movie review hasn't bored you too much. So I'd like to thank you for listening. I want you to always remember to keep an open mind, whether it's with people, movies, music, whatever. Keep an open mind. All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Please rate my show or leave a comment or make suggestions of what you would like me to talk about. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Dom Dumas, on Twitter at Dom Dumas, and on Instagram, Dom_Dumas. Thanks a lot.